Welcome to Puhoi. Puhoi is a small town in the North Island of New Zealand. It was settled in the 1860s by a small group of people from Bohemia. They came here from Europe looking for a new life in the South Pacific. Over 130 years later, Puhoi hasn't changed a lot. The pub remains much the same, and there are names like Shishka and Sholem still to be found. Its architecture and traditions are still largely intact. But that's all about to change. Through the magic of Hollywood, Puhoi, New Zealand is about to become the small town of Haven in Maine, USA. Puhoi will become one of the numerous New Zealand locations for the Tommyknockers. Stephen King's great novel is now a great motion picture.
Too late, boss.
Along with LA Law's Jimmy Schmitz, China Beach's Marg Helgenberger, veteran actor E.G. Marshall, Joanna Cassidy and Robert Carradine, there's an international cast and crew of 150 people.
Joe.
You won't find many better actors than we have in this one. There's the very distinguished E.G. Marshall, who is, an icon in the American cinema and American stage.
Dads forget things being dads. That's what happens to grown-ups.
I grew up watching these movies as a kid, and to meet him was really a great moment.
Australian director John Power is responsible for transferring the Tommyknockers from book to screen, and it's a daunting task.
It's the most challenging picture I've ever made. It's challenging in all ways. It's a big picture, it's big in size, we have a huge cast, we have a very big production team, sets being built, it seems, all over Auckland, and we've been shooting for a long time. But the real challenge is getting hold of the drama.
Fell off the wagon, Bob.
What?
Yeah, I went on a binge. I'm sorry.
You're sorry? You just like that? What, after everything we've been through and everything we were, you're sorry?
Oh, yeah. I don't know what happened. I had this little success thing. I mean, you weren't there to share it with me. I just didn't have it. Come on, say something.
You go to hell.
Stephen King has pioneered a whole new kind of literature. That is, it's literature of small-town America, but when you look behind small-town America, there's always something else. And our story, which is about Haven in Maine, it's a nice, pleasant town, and suddenly there's a subterranean force just taking over the town. And slowly you see the town being enveloped, being sucked into this extraordinary force. Yeah. I suppose there is a spookiness about a Stephen King project. After a while, you have a feeling that Stephen King's spirit sort of lives on in the crew. He has an extraordinary way of making an ordinary scene more than just the writing of it.
Hi, I'm Jim, and I'm an alcoholic. I haven't had a drink in about a year now. Anyway, the problem is I've got this poem that I have to read in public. It's probably the last chance I'll have to see if I can hack it on the circuit as a poet. Just hang up my jock. And, well, I'm scared to death I'm gonna need a drink to do it. The project does have a lot of character stuff. I think there's a real parallel in the story to what my character is fighting against in terms of personal addiction. And what happens to Mark's character in the town? I mean, they become obsessed. You see him in one light in the beginning, and he really does have to take a kind of journey, as does Mark's character. And as it is in life, what happens is that, you start pushing away loved ones. An obsession can take you to a place where it cannot be good.
Yes, it is science fiction, but I think essentially the heart of the piece is Jimmy's character and my character, and how love conquers all.
But I'm telling you, God, I just makes me feel different, and I have all this energy, and I've got ideas, and well,
and you're telling me that you think that this thing in the ground is making you feel this way, huh?
well, it affected Pete too. I mean, yeah, his eyes better. The cataract is disappearing.
Oh, please, honey. Tell me what's going on here.
Well, no, I'll just show you.
What happens with my particular character, I'm led astray by what I think is, like the second coming, basically, and a new life force, and it turns out to be quite the opposite. And Jimmy never, sees me like, disappearing away from him and alienating him, but he never gives up on me, and he is eventually the hero and saves me.
We are about to reach the final phase, but we must be careful.
When Bobby, played by Marg Helgenberger, comes into contact with the aliens, it has a draining effect on her, reducing her to a gaunt shadow of her former self. Producing that effect was a challenge well met by the makeup department.
This is a character that starts one place and goes through every possible physical, emotional change that anybody could go through, and it eventually comes out, full circle, almost full circle, and at the same time a different person, wiser from what she's gone through. So it's an actor's dream, basically, because of the arc of the character.
You want me, don't you? You all want me.
Maybe at the first makeup test I was somewhat intimidated by the fact that I was going to spend a lot of this piece looking bedraggled at best. But it's very freeing for an actor. It allows you to become more of a monster, so you don't feel compelled like you have to act beautifully. I found it great. It was a great freeing experience for me. I play a nasty babe.
Our community has suffered greatly during
Working so far from the sound stages of Hollywood is not new in the movie business. But why come all the way down to New Zealand?
The piece is set in a Maine small town in the summer on July 4th weekend. So we felt it was important to be able to have a summer look. And by the time we were able to get into production, it was October. And there's no place in America really where you can get sunny weather, apart from like Arizona, Texas, which is not at all like Maine. We chose it really because it was New Zealand summer.
The Tommyknockers is a story strong on production design. The overall look of the movie is in the hands of production designer Bernard Hides.
It's a space inhabited by somebody or something. It's a space that's under the ground, that's wet, that's cold, that's metallic, that's organic. Looks like a warren of tunnels. It has a beehive look about it. That's what we try to achieve. What is it look?
Spin the penny! Roll camera.
Shouldn't there be an instrument panel or something here?
We didn't want to go blue because we're using a little bit of blue screening. We wanted a dark colour. The only colour choice left in the spectrum was sort of yellows or red. So we found a red which was sort of just on the verge of black. By using a wet look, we got shine. By using an absorbent look, we got black. So we got a strange combination of black and white, but actually it's red. It's filled a warehouse, but I would have liked it taller. Another that's 30 feet taller. You're limited by the space you're in and the money you've got and the time we had to build it. Our town of Haven Falls, we built using a crossroad of an existing small town, and we then built around it about a dozen shops, houses, complete with fire hydrants and and the town square, the statue in the square, the flagpoles, the town hall, the ice cream shop, everything one wanted to have in a small town. It was the first time I've actually done anything quite as interesting as this.
To obtain a wider view of the Haven Falls environment and the main countryside, a huge model of the town and surrounding area was built. It was a major task, more than met by local craftspeople. Mary McLaughlin was one of the model building team.
This is the pre-production miniature that we made of the spaceship. This will give the builders of the big 1 metre wide model an idea of what the model is supposed to look like. It is a rather unusual shape.
Now, Richard, the widest you can ever get to 24 on the plate camera.
That's right.
The television show that I was involved in, LA Law, we would take 8 days to shoot an hour show, 47 minutes with commercials and stuff. On a feature film, we have anywhere from 2 to 4 months. In a project like Tommyknockers here, we have 4 hours that we're doing, 2 parts. Essentially, it's 2 two-hour movies in a period of about 51 shooting days or so. It's pretty quick. It just requires much more of a concentration and knowing where you're at and shooting out of sync, out of continuity, and it's hard, but it's a challenging part of it. Marg and I started this very intricate fight scene that's really a culmination point for us. It takes us into another kind of emotional scene, but we have to stop because of the fact that an alien can only stay in a suit for so long, and it requires adjusting the schedule around that.
Because I go on such a wild journey, it was very difficult to track as an actor. And you know, this inevitably happens with every actor. You shoot something that is out of sequence, and then you wish you had had opportunity to do it again because you would have done it differently.
It's like a puzzle. You have to know what that puzzle looks like when it's completed, and then know that you're going to be doing it in different parts. It's part of movie making, you know. Again, it's that thing about the actor keeping in focus and knowing where he's at each given moment.
And sound speed.
Sound is a vital ingredient in screen drama. Recording the atmosphere and dialogue on the Tommyknockers was the job of Emmy Award-winning sound man Fred Schultz.
If I can't get the sound right as the dialogue's being delivered, then the story really doesn't get told the way it was conceived by the writer. My real job here is to make sure that all the nuances of what's printed in the script winds up as being in the consciousness of the folks sitting at home. The difference between television and feature films from the sound man's perspective is we just don't have the luxury in television to get it wrong and have the actors loop it in post-production, as opposed to feature films when I simply would do a guide track and somebody else would record all the dialogue afterwards.
Being an alien is not just a matter of putting on a costume and hitting your mark. It means a close study of the character of the alien, great acting ability, and the right stature. Three people play the aliens in the Tommyknockers, and all were specially chosen for the task.
Every monster has a character, and you portray that character.
You bring all the movement, because they may have words like scary or fierce or ferocious. Looming is one that's really common, but you have to have a sort of a painter's palette and say, here it is, here's all the different things, what do you like?
If you're running after somebody, you just feel that like you're after that person, and you just get that feeling built up inside yourself. And then that's just exactly what you're going to portray, you know?
You think of what the character is, their intention and what have you, and you let your acting ability come through the suit. And being small and agile, it's really an asset.
You actually have about this much vision, so you don't have any peripheral, or you can't really see below. You can see straight out, and that's about it. It is limited vision, so you do need to have people, when you're not actually shooting, that can sort of guide you around.
The hardest part really is just Well, just mainly the actual suit, like being hot inside the suit. With the head on all the time, probably about an hour, 2 hours would be the limit with that.
You certainly can't have claustrophobia to do this type of work.
Behind every good alien and its performance are the people who design, build and manipulate them. The alien masters are the force behind the menace.
It went through at least a dozen changes before it finally wound up where it is now. It involves everything from sitting down with a piece of paper and a pencil and coming up with a look, having everybody agree to it, then doing a series of maquettes, miniature sculptures that do cast the part as far as who's going to play this character. And we have to make a series of molds of that particular performer. And from that, we have a positive form to start the sculpture, which is done in clay. We do the sculpture of the creature. And then fiberglass molds are made off the body, which create a negative that is later filled with rubber, which becomes the suit. So it's quite an involved process. And they gave us about 10, I think we had 10 weeks to put all of it together. The actual approved design went through I'd say about a dozen changes before it wound up the way the suits look now, where originally the aliens were supposed to be tall and lean, and because of limitations for mechanical reasons, we had to beast it up a bit. So they look a little bit more horrific than they do Supreme Intelligence.
These two heads are the main hero heads. We have 3 background heads which only have a jaw movement because they're only seen in the distance. There's 4 basic movements. We have lip snarl, we have jaw movement, and we also have brows. And so when they're put all together, you can get a variety of expressions, although it's mainly sculpted for an anger, a mean look, so it never really looks happy. But we can make it go from mean to really mean and really mad.
Here we go. And roll. And action.
Jimmy's not an easy guy to find doubles for because of his height. And Shane is the closest guy we have here.
A bit close here. The tight choreography in movie fight scenes calls for the extensive use of doubles. Every move needs to be painstakingly rehearsed to prevent injury to the stars or the doubles.
They're a must, I mean, twofold. One is so the action looks real. I mean, we've got people who are experienced, don't mind throwing themselves around, can throw a punch, take a punch. Production can't afford an actor to hurt themselves. Set. And action.
Mark, that's a man.
Yeah.
Michael, take one. Set.
Don't bother me.
It is a fact that Aussies and New Zealanders are becoming pretty well known for being very good at filmmaking. I don't know why we are. I think it's because we've come from making fairly small budget pictures. Many of the films I've made have been done on a 50th of this budget, maybe a 100th of this budget. You don't have much going for you except your talent, the talent of those you work with, and the enthusiasm. And so on this picture, we've managed to marry quite a deal of professionalism and a great deal of enthusiasm.
They're dead.
Yeah. All dead. Are they speaking?
We cling to each other. We become buddies.
Hello, we're making a movie.
That's really been a joy because we really respect one another and respect each other's opinions and listen to each other, and it's just been great. It's been a thrill working with him.
That downtime that you have while lights are being set up and stuff really needs to be going over what I call the character's internal dialogue, what's gone before, where am I at this particular point, and each individual department has to be focused so that when it's their turn to go, they're ready.
A movie with as much action as the Tommyknockers relies heavily on a storyboard that sets out graphically, shot by shot, the day's shooting requirements for the crew.
This miniseries, this project, Tommyknockers, has all of those kind of elements. It has this romantic thing going on. It has this parallel story, which is very important to me. We also have this heavy-duty action special effects thing, which I really haven't done a lot of. I got the storyboard of the last major sequence that we're doing, put in a Federal Express pad, sent it to my kid in New York, and he called me back and said, "Oh, Dad, and then you're in the ship, and then you and Marg get to run down these," because it's there visually for him. He's 9. He sees Daddy as a lawyer in court, and he understands some of it, but this to him was really exciting. So there's that element too. I want to get out there and fulfill that part of Jimmy as an actor and an artist too.
It's night in a New Zealand forest, and a major shot, 4 hours in the setting up with explosives and the ground opening, is set to go.
Turn over. And action.
Too much smoke, so the whole scene is reset, the explosives relayed, and done again.
Like a 1 beat should be enough. Call action and 1 beat. Yeah. Stand by, everybody. Turn over. And action.
All this for half a second on screen. But that's movie making.
Okay, let's lunch, everybody.